Hello, and welcome to the Alchemists Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people.
Day after a Leo full moon, so not feeling super grounded, but it's okay. We're good.
It's happening in my 10th house, so I'm actually feeling in control for once, which is nice. It's a very lunar year for me, with the moon being my time lord for my perfections. So every month I'm just like, what's the thing now? But this one is in a good spot for me in my chart. Do
Nice.
acknowledge that it's not been great for everybody, globally and personally, but that's astrology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad for me. It's just been absolutely weird. The weirdest thing for me, I actually had like a kind of a little bit of a meltdown about this on Saturday, I think. For some reason, I guess my voice just disappeared. No one listened to me about anything at all, to the point like my hairdresser, who I've gone to for years, she's amazing. She knows how to do my hair, didn't listen to anything I said and cut it incorrectly and like dyed it incorrectly. Like I usually have like these bleach blonde strips and she like barely let them cure just so that they're like orange. I don't know. It was so weird. And I came home and I was like really upset about it
I would be
because
too.
that's weird. Follow it up the next day, I went and got my nails done, and it was the worst experience I've ever had getting my nails done. She didn't listen to anything I said, not the shape, not the color, like literally nothing. And I sent her 3 pictures to be like, this is what I want, this is the length, and this is the shape. And she did none of it, like literally 0 of it. And then I had to go get them fixed the next day. So now I love them. Now they're lovely. They're nothing like what I wanted, but now they're great because I got them fixed by a different lady after the full moon had occurred. Because I was like, this is I don't know what it is, but it has to be full moon related. And that is the biggest thing for me for this full moon, is like all of a sudden my voice just apparently was not able to be processed by those around me. And those are the 2 like very superficial sort of ego Leo based examples, insecurity examples, I guess. There were other ones, but that was just, it was like 3 days of me being like, am I speaking? I thought I was speaking.
I actually know that feeling quite regular. So my chart has that disposition in it naturally, and I've had to really bring out other traits, which you can do. But yeah, we all have moments, right? And this full moon, for anybody who's like, what the heck was that? It was square by just 1 degree off of Uranus, who is now direct at 15 degrees Taurus. And the full moon was at 16 degrees Leo, which put the sun, who is still in detriment. So just like not as strong as the sun would like to be, at 16 degrees of Aquarius. So now that we're talking about astrology so much, the patrons have spoken as well. And it looks like, even though we've got a couple weeks before any of this release sits in, you guys have heard that March is going to be something. And I know I've contributed to that. So I'm not going to be like, oh, social media astrology. Partially, yes. If you're afraid of it, then I hope that I didn't contribute to that. But if you are, we're going to set that straight today. We're going to tell you what's happening in March, give you some rational things to look forward to. We're not going to sugarcoat, but we're also not going to doomsday you. And really,
so
the ultimate thing, the thing I want to start with though, these transits are long transits. It's 2 planets that take a very long time to do what they do, changing signs. I will tell you that there's no reason to be afraid. I will also tell you later in the episode, we'll get into how to know if this is going to affect you most personally, and what to expect around that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, in our poll for this month, we have some really cool options as far as episode topics, and we put, I think, 4 out this time. So if you want to vote on those, they're really fun and we're very excited about them. So by all means, like if you would like to vote on that, please head over to our Patreon and join, and you can vote. The first topic that was voted on though was this March energy, kind of how to prep for March sort of space, which is what we're going to be talking a lot on today. And I do just want to highlight, like, but neither of us are going to be doomsdayers on this. There is people freaking out about it on social media though. So if you've had very conflicting signals, like, is March going to be good? Is it going to be bad? What's going to happen? It'll be fine for like, we're going to get through it no matter what. If it's great for you, that's awesome. If it's not great for you, that's okay too. Like, it will be all right. The reason I just say that is because I have seen both ends of the spectrum of people being like, March is going to be the most colorful, most bestest, most magicalist month ever. And then other people being like, March is going to kill everyone. And so it's been like both sides.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw that out there. It's been both sides, and we're just going to talk about the energy that we have concretely seen or are seeing in the chart, and just go from there so that you feel prepared and excited, hopefully, or at least understanding and aligned, and can take some control of this fast moving energy and maybe manifest stuff for yourself, or like really have an understanding of kind of where you're going. Both on the like energetic psychic perspective and with your guides, and also on the astrology perspective, because I think they're both, as always, holding hands very happily.
I'm looking at like why certain people might be like the magicalist most bestest month, and really that's February, because Venus exalted in Pisces will conjoin with Neptune, who is also in Pisces, before Saturn enters Pisces in March, and that's quite magical. That's like, come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination kind of energy. But that really nice ballady barroom style version that you heard on TikTok a couple months ago, that style, that's what it feels like to me. And just for reference, I'm going to figure out where exactly that is. I can find it super fast.
I think it's the fact that everything is direct in March and it's sitting solidly in March, but also in like not an astrology perspective. I've seen a lot of like psychic and spiritual people talking about it. And I've seen this too. There is a lot of very magical energy coming in the March space, like, but magical in the sense of like magic, like transmutation, seeing, veil thinning, connecting with guides more often, more synchronicities, etc. That sort of stuff I see actually coming in March. Those things for sure. Other people are interpreting that as all the glitter, and that's not the same, but I think that's where it's coming in, because I can see that energy too. I know what they're talking about. I just think they're misidentifying it, in my opinion, to be some like happy butterflies. I think we're finally going to have to do stuff and going to have stuff happen for us and have opportunities thrust into our faces, which is good and exciting, but it might feel overwhelming and like we don't know what we're doing, and we're now having to take these opportunities that we want, but we're not feeling prepared for it. Like, I think there's a lot of that coming in. So I think March is exciting. I don't think it's glittery.
March is, I'm going to say, initiating in a sense. But for reference, anybody who's like, when is that exact Venus, whatever magic moment? It's going to be on the 15th of February. So Venus conjoins with Neptune around the 15th of February. So dreamland kind of day.
Valentine's Day, very applicable Venus.
Right, right. They're square the moon as well. So, really bringing that in. So thinking about March, the first thing that we're going to encounter, there are three kind of more major things, or the three highlights is how I want to put it, of March involve Saturn, Pluto, which is why people are like, oh, we're all going to die. Because Saturn traditionally is longevity, old age, death, that which ages, that kind of stuff. And Pluto is death and rebirth. And, transformation is another one that people use and probably overuse a lot. So it's easy to see how people would be like
the death card.
It's really the shifting of power and things like that as well. The incarnation or the destruction of something so it can reincarnate in a way, which we do in life, within life, as much as we do multiple reincarnations, if that's something that you believe in. So those are the two planets that people are thinking the most about. Mars is another one that's finally changing up the tune since August. So we're finally getting Mars into Cancer this month as well. And when I think about these two, Saturn's going to be in Pisces for 3 years. So that's why I'm saying initiatory. Saturn is going to enter Pisces and stick around for a good long time. March is just a month when stuff happens. It's not everything happening all at once and like bombing March with energy. It's just a shift. It's a new chapter. We're closing a book. We're going into a new one. For some people, they're going to feel this. For other people, it's going to be like, I notice society is changing, like culture is moving, but I'm not feeling specifically attacked or fixed on this. And that's totally fine. We're like 8 bajillion people now. Like there's no reason why every single one of us has to be feeling laser focused on a transit at any given time. We also have Pluto moving into Aquarius. First thing, this is not the age of Aquarius. we can talk about the age of Aquarius and the celestial ages or astrological ages at a different time. They are very long. We still have a couple of hundred more years, give or take, before we reach what most astrologers are kind of presuming to be the turning date of the age of Aquarius. We are in a very Aquarian era. And this is going to emphasize that. We're going to be coming into a lot of Aquarian pop culture, a whole generation of very Aquarian themes. It's not the age of Aquarius, though. So, and it's not going to last very much outside of March this year. Pluto is going to retrograde back into Capricorn for a period before coming back into stay for 20 years next January. So next January is where we get the Pluto's here to stay until 2044. So that's your overview.
And that's the generational marker, typically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We know what generation you're from by where your Pluto is. If you're Pluto in Scorpio, you're a millennial. If you're Pluto in Libra, you're Gen X. Pluto in Virgo is the boomers. And then before that would be the Pluto in Leo people. And right now, Gen Alpha is, of course, Pluto in Capricorn, where it currently is. And we will start seeing the emergence of the Pluto and Aquarius generation, whatever we decide to dub them this year / next year.
I think they already came up with a name.
Did they? I haven't heard it yet.
I don't think it's, maybe it is beta, actually.
Is it? I mean, I've just been assuming
we might be going
beta.
through.
Do you know the lettered system for generations didn't really start until Gen X? They were just like, we don't know what to call you guys, so Gen X it is. And then they were like, well, millennials, okay, but we'll just presume that they were Y. So now we have Gen Z, and that's where the letters came from. So
it really is Gen Beta.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll take it.
Beta will be 2025 to 2039.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's kind of a shitty name. Just gonna throw that out there.
I don't think so.
I mean, if you were following, think about the generations we followed. Like, when you're following a generation, you don't necessarily want that generation to be dubbed something better, I guess, air quotes. And I'm not saying that alpha and beta or whatever, but in the popular culture today, alpha means one thing and beta means one thing. And it's kind of shitty to dub that onto fucking generations, in my opinion.
Except in the popular culture today, I would not want to be an alpha because they're annoying. So I kind of feel bad for the Gen Alpha people. I'd rather be beta. But also,
I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah. How do you deal with stuff like that when it's a person's feelings attached to a sequential structure? The way that my mom dealt with this when she married into my family and my dad had a sister named Kathy was she wouldn't be Kathy 2. She was Kathy 1. So for the betas, when you're listening to this 10 years from now, and if you have beef with the fact that you're a beta, you can just be, alpha.
Well, I just think about it like the boomers followed, literally, they were called the best generation. That was the generation before the boomers.
Yeah, I've heard them. They were the greatest generation or
the greatest generation. Yeah.
The silent generation was the one that came before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
The silent and forgotten generation. Oops.
Yeah. And then then there's the greatest generation.
Like,
and then there's really the boomers.
The baby boomers, because there were a lot of them.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess someone somewhere decided, like, hey, maybe we just stop coming up with arbitrary names and have a system. And that's where we're getting alpha, beta, gamma, delta. Like,
yeah, works for me.
Yeah. Omega's in there. We're just gonna have the whole Greek alphabet.
Man, I'm not gonna see Omega. Not from this plane.
Anyway, that's the next generation name, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, that's our long detour on that.
Yeah.
So
personally, I am really excited for March, but this is for a very personal reason. It's that I'm finally going to be out of my damn Saturn return, and it can just kick rocks. I'm ready.
So this is where a lot of people are really excited and a lot of people are afraid, and for different reasons. Shout out to the person who on TikTok this week, and I am going to film a TikTok for you. But this episode was one that I had in my mind as well. So I hope you're watching this. They asked, oh my God, my Saturn return's ending. What do I do? And I just thought,
you enjoy it. You go bask in the sun.
No, but like not joking or anything.
No.
A lot of people are like, what happens after the Saturn return? Because, we make it sound like this is the end of the world, and it's your first end of the world, right? This reminds me of Mistborn.
Yes.
And I'm going to leave it there. Read Mistborn and you'll understand. But there's something
world
to be
ends
said
a lot.
about, I was going to say, a world can end and then another one can start. So this is the end of your juvenile world, your phase of that era of your life. And now you get to decide what you want to do with the middle part of your life, which, by the way, in Saturn cycles, Saturn cycle is a whole 30-year period. You might notice you're around 30 right now if you're wrapping up your Saturn return. So it's okay. You have 30 years to play this out. No rush. You have 3 years to sort of analyze what the last 3 years look like. Honestly, I am a Saturn in Capricorn. And people are still asking me, other astrologers are saying, what do you think Saturn was teaching you during your Saturn return? Or have you figured it out yet? I know Saturn only just is in Aquarius. So other astrologers are like, yeah, we get it. It takes some time to really process and get the hindsight clarity and whatever. I was fortunate. I was tracking it as it happened. So I have a lot of details. I will probably unpack more, but I have a lot of clarity already. Again, fortunate being an astrologer and tracking all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, now you get to move on. The one thing that I noticed after Saturn return was how I was so like flash shy of things being hard. Like, oh, now I have to do this and it's gonna be hard. And then I was like, no, wait, Saturn return's over. Not everything is going to be hard because I'm not, going through that trial and error testing and fortifying phase anymore. I might have figured some of this out. Some of it may just work. Like you're not in the story where literally everything goes wrong anymore. You're in the story where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And we're back into that kind of thing. So that is something that I would just remember. Give yourself a bit of a break, recover.
Yeah. I am obviously not out of my Saturn return though. I'm looking forward to it mostly so that I can like manifest things again. Because in Saturn return, it's really hard. Like it's just generally really hard to manifest things. And I noticed it distinctly that it was difficult. I am a very good manifester typically, and I haven't manifested anything in my entire Saturn return, basically. Like little stuff, but not like the big stuff that I would typically be able to manifest. Not really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and it's been kind of an interesting dynamic that we've had because I left my Saturn return right kind of when we started this during my Saturn return. And then I finished it and you came into yours. And so I've been watching you go through yours, remembering what mine was like. And I'm just like, oh yeah. And you've helped me. And I know this isn't going to make you feel any better, but you've helped me become aware of the dichotomy between the two and be like, oh yeah, that was Saturn return. This is now, there's a difference. And like, I get to sort of honor that by, holding space with you as you were going through certain things. And I hope we made it a little bit easier working together.
Absolutely. No, I love you to pieces. Don't worry about that. But just be like,
sorry.
oh, glad I was your tribute for understanding.
It's like, this doesn't make anything better by me saying
no,
this,
that being said though,
cool.
Krista has Saturn at night. They were born at night. I was born during the day. So Saturn likes me a lot more than than he likes Krista.
Saturn came into my chart and was like, you have hopes and dreams, get wrecked.
Saturn came into my chart and was like, maybe we should think a lot about ourselves, a whole bunch, and who we are as a person and how we relate to everyone and everything in the whole world. And would you like to grow? Too bad. You're going to sit there and think some more. And I hate that. So that's my issue.
Yeah. And to the manifesting point, why is it hard to manifest during a Saturn return? Well, because Saturn is coming through and saying, hey, you're on the right track with this. This is limited. This is not enough for you. You have a whole rest of your life to live. This isn't going to get you there. It's like you filled your water bottle up halfway and thought you'd be good for your marathon run. And Saturn's like, no, we're going back to the water fountain and we're filling this up better. And you're going to listen to me right now. So it's really a Saturn knows best situation and us kind of kicking and fussing at that.
And the way, what I've noticed anyway, because I'm really close, obviously we're almost there. And I had a moment last month where I just had this like settling of like, oh, this is what it was getting me to. I get it now. okay. And Chris has talked about this before. I don't even know on here if it was just with us because we talked so much, I don't remember. But how most of the time the Saturn return, the one commonality that most people identify is that it somehow brings you back to your original like dreams and stuff of youth, that like things where you really enjoyed or were important to you as a kid, basically. And I had that happen with basically some of the channeled history stuff and that thing that I've been doing, which if you haven't seen any of that, I've been doing a lot of content on that on TikTok, and I'm going to start doing it on YouTube soon. But it's just that settled in and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And then I was able to kind of look back, because again, I am almost out of it, at the entirety of my Saturn return and be like, yeah, the dreams and stuff I wanted at the start of my Saturn return are not the dreams and stuff I want now. And I like these ones so much more. But that's why it's difficult to manifest, because you're like, I'm calling these things in. The universe is like, not in your highest and best, you're not, like, hard pass. And it's frustrating. So if you're about to enter your Saturn return, if you're about to enter your second Saturn return, anything like that, like, it's frustrating. And I just want to acknowledge that it's frustrating, because you're like, I want these things. Why can't I have them? They're like, yeah, because you'll get clarity on it in 2 years. Have fun. Like,
I like the peace sign you just did. Anybody on YouTube just saw it. Emily do that. It's funny. So to bring this around and make sure that we do say this, Saturn will be ingressing from Aquarius into Pisces sometime during March 7th, on the day of March 7th. So that is like the final day of Saturn in Aquarius before he tips into Pisces and hangs out there for 3 years. The fortunate thing is, unlike Pluto, Saturn will not be retrograding back into Capricorn, which is something that I think Saturn did at the beginning of Aquarius, because I remember Saturn stationed retrograde on my degree and stayed there for a very long time because, insult and injury, and then got out and came back. And I was just like, you are not coming back. Like, go stay over there.
No. Weird, ironic. This is just a little like how well divine timing truly works story for you. For my 30th birthday, which was last June, my husband bought me a trip to Rome. Obviously, I've been writing a Roman book forever, but also now I'm doing this channeled history. So it's really all divine timing. He didn't know I would be doing channel history. I didn't know I'd be doing channel history. None of this, but he bought me to Rome because I'd been basically incessantly annoying him with Rome facts for like the last 2 years. So he's like, "Would you go? Let's go. We're going." So we're going to Rome. He booked it. So we fly out on March 9th, which is exactly 1 day after my Saturn return completes.
You are
and
just
I was like,
piecing out.
I was just like, that is some divine timing if I have ever heard it. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
1 day.
That's
like, it goes out on the 7th and I get to be like, oh, and then I get to pack on the 8th and just chill. And then I fly out on the 9th. Like, how crazy is that? That just blows my mind.
You are literally starting your new journey with a new journey. I like it.
Right. But just, he doesn't know. He had no idea. Like, he's not even super into astrology.
He certainly didn't consult me.
No. Yeah. He just did it. So that's just to lean into divine timing. Like, that's how it works. Like, it's just how it works. So just to throw that out there for everyone. Also, even if this is not anything to do with your Saturn return or whatever, Saturn moving will still affect you. So I just want to point that out, that we're talking about like returns, but it will you'll still notice it, even if you're not in that.
You'll still notice it. Sometimes, like, you'll notice, again, society changing. If it activates something in your chart, it may start feeling more personal. So I really quickly want to touch on the general idea of Pluto moving into Aquarius. And then I'm going to tell you guys what to look out for to know if you, when you want to pay attention and start working in alignment with the transits that are working with you. Okay. So Pluto is going to be coming into Aquarius later in March on the 23rd. So that is when Pluto, again, dips into Aquarius, but I'm going to give you exact dates here, which is why you hear me leaning away from the microphone. Pluto dips into Aquarius. And then where are we?
Just drop my phone on the ground.
Starts retrograde. No, we didn't hear it. It was good.
Okay, good.
So Pluto goes into Aquarius on the 23rd of March and then goes retrograde on May 2nd. And we'll just kind of stay at 0 degrees of Aquarius for a while until heading back into Capricorn on the 12th of June. And then hanging out back in Capricorn a little bit until next January 2024, when again, he'll come back in. they'll come back in and hang out for 2 decades and give us that real, like, so you're going to get a preview between March and June of like, what does Pluto have planned for Aquarius? We might notice, I'm expecting like technological advances, things like that, Aquarian things. So we're looking at like equity. I'm thinking maybe ecological things like responsibly sourced energy, renewable energy, things that work for everybody and really prolong or support longevity, something that's built to last and works for the society. Think of Aquarius. That's the kind of stuff we're looking at. And Pluto is going to be bringing those in on a global, probably scale. We call Pluto a transpersonal planet because, again, moves super slow. So you're not going to notice one day from the other that Pluto did something because Pluto's just hanging out in the same spot for a very long time. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Now,
I would just really quick on that before you forget, with that energy of like what you're seeing come in, I fully agree with that. I also think it's going to cause really big changes in societal infrastructure is what I'm calling it, as less of like physical things and more of like the wealth gap disparage and the housing market and those sorts of things that are not serving basically anyone, truthfully. Those are sort of things that I see getting revolutionized in this energy space for sure. The other thing, and I channeled this in a couple weeks ago when there was all those tech layoffs out of nowhere. Everyone was like, what the heck is happening? There's just Google lays off 12,000 people and Apple lays off 10,000 and Bezos lays off a whole crap ton himself. All of that came up. And the first thing I tuned in, I was like, what's the bigger purpose? Because whenever something air quotes random like that happens, there's a bigger one. And it's to create these new technologies because all of these very highly intelligent, really, good tech people just got laid off and they're just going to band together and create a lot of like startup energy with like very collective human-based technology, this was the push for that. So there's like a really cool energy of that occurring too on like a tangible, you can see it, traceable level that I just want to point out because this is happening and obviously it's going to take about a year to settle in and that's probably going to be about a year till we see all these tech startups really coming to fruition.
Yeah. And I think over the next 3 years, one of the things we're going to see as we watch Saturn in Pisces blend with Pluto and Aquarius, we're going to play around with AI and find out and we'll see, what version of that sticks around. This reminds me a lot about, except for with a little bit more staying power, I think there is going to be something we keep from this. This reminds me of the Bitcoin thing that really characterized the Saturn square Uranus 2021 into 2022 thing, where everybody's like, this is the way of the future. It's going to stay around. And I was like, it's a square. I don't know. This one though,
I was like, hard pass. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure.
I think it's going to show us some new opportunities, but like, it's a very, like alpha testing kind of thing. And, I think we're going to see a lot more with VR and opportunities with that. I think implemented into like almost healthcare and recovery and that kind of stuff. Like, how can we make this stuff work for the human condition? Feels something like Aquarius is considered a humanitarian sign in a lot of ways. So I think we're going to see that happening, but on the road to that, we're going to, have some stumbling blocks or push things maybe too far or not far enough and all those things, as we always do. This isn't anything new as far as how we go through these cycles. It's just a new tone to the cycle. So that is something that's like, if you are excited about that, you get to be excited about that. Your chart's going to tell you if these things really appeal to you or not. And speaking of your chart, how do you know if this is an important time for you? I'm actually going to pull up an extra fun thing here if I can get to it. So I have a document where I have like the degrees that are going to be covered by these planets this year. So I can make it even more specific for our listeners out there, which makes me very happy.
I do just want to highlight, like, while you do that, because I feel this pull. If you're excited about March, you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there. If you're feeling excitement about March, April, you're supposed to be. So lean into that. We're not trying to discourage that in the slightest. If you're like, oh man, I don't know what's going on with my chart. Should I be excited? No, be excited. Embrace your excitement. Because if you're feeling that, you're tuning into the energy for you and you should be. So I just want to put that out there as like a blanket statement because like I mentioned, I'm personally thrilled for March. I have personal life things going on I'm really excited about. My chart's changing, whatever, but the energy in general is so different from the last couple months that is what I am more excited for. I like different things. I like change. I like rapid movement. Those things make me really happy. So when I tune into that, I'm like, yay, I'm so excited. And that's totally fine. Might it all go perfectly? Probably not. Might it all go perfectly? Maybe. But like, I'm going to be excited anyway. So just know that and lean into that. If you are feeling excited, don't let us or anyone discourage that excitement. You're tuning into the energy and you should be feeling it.
So let's talk about Saturn and Pluto specifically, about how can you anticipate if you're going to notice something as sort of a plot point coming up in your life? And I call it a plot point because we're using oppositions, squares, and conjunctions because they are the very active aspects. Like you notice them. Trines are really smooth and easy a lot of the time, so you may not notice them, or they'll just be like a really good thing. Sextiles are really subtle, but they're also generally positive. So, if you're thinking like, how can I look ahead and should I plan for this? If you are someone thinking about Saturn in Pisces, you want to look at the mutable signs of your chart. That is Pisces, that is Gemini, that is Virgo, and that is Sagittarius. They are the mutable placements in your chart. They will be at the four corners of the chart. Saturn is going to cover the degrees of 0 to 7 degrees Pisces this year. That's it. That's all the degrees. So if you have something in any of those signs I just mentioned from 0 to 7 degrees, then you may at some point this year notice Saturn. And it could be, again, very constructive, or it might deconstruct in order to rebuild. That's one thing to keep in mind. Looking at Pluto, hang on, let me find this because this is going to make me laugh because I know he doesn't cover, he's only covering 0 degrees Aquarius. So if you have anything at 0 degrees in the fixed signs, which is Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio, then you might notice Pluto for those who the whole 2 months that Pluto's hanging out there. Yeah, right.
2 months.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think I did stand correct that Pluto is gonna dip, I think, back into Capricorn one more time during a retrograde. So January through September next year, Pluto will be in Aquarius again, dip back one more time, and then come to stay November 19th, 2024. So that's when we actually get that generation of Aquarius hanging out for the good long time. So yeah, that's it. It's really that easy. If you have anything in that range of degrees, and do feel free to rewind. I don't want to repeat numbers because I might missay them and then I'll just confuse everybody. That's how my brain works. So if you have anything in those degrees, then March is going to initiate a period of time for you that you might recognize some things. That's for 2023 anyway. And not just March, the year. So those degrees, 0 to 7 degrees for Saturn, that's the whole year. So this into the whole rest of this year. Then Saturn will keep going 0 degrees Aquarius. Otherwise, you're already noticing Pluto. So you already are in whatever it is, and it's not going to get like too much more activated. And again, if you're like, oh my God, I need more information on my personal chart, that's what a consultation is for. I can do a lot more than that. Here, this is as detailed as I can get, but I feel like that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think that's a lot. The other thing I just want to say, everything is also moving direct. I mean, everything is direct for the moment until Pluto goes. And a couple other things.
That.
Like, I don't really want to keep going forward.
Nah, this isn't for me.
Yeah. But that is like April 21st. Basically is when something goes back into retrograde again. So you have all of this time with very fast moving energy. And I cannot stress this enough. Structure things. Like, I know that sounds weird, but please like find scheduling places where you can actually schedule in things you want to do. If that is going for a walk with your dog, awesome. If that is working on a work project, if that is making phone calls, whatever it is, structure it, because time is going to feel slippery. It's going to feel like it's moving past you really fast. It probably already is over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I know personally it has, but like just looking at the energy of it, I'm like, oh, super whoosh, we are just whoosh, right on by. And that's not what we want for this time, because there's a lot of activated energy. So it is a time to think about manifesting things. It is a time to, schedule yourself out. And I can't stress this enough. I said this on last week's podcast episode too. I'm pretty sure I did. But please slow your physical body down and don't fall. And if you do fall, just like allow yourself to like relax through it as much as possible. If you're tense against it, it's not going to be great. A lot of people are falling right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are hurting themselves, and I don't want you to be one. Just slow down, especially through this next 2 months. Do everything you can to take your time with things. Allow yourself to breathe through things before you react. Anything like that. And I mean, some of them are going to be like random and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm not in any way being like, oh, you should feel bad if you've fallen. My kid broke his freaking knee. So like, just what it is. But it is definitely a time of like, if you can take more time and calm down and go slower. Please.
Yeah.
I just need to stress that again.
I personally am someone who is prone to like meltdowns and overwhelm. For my flavor of neurodivergence. And what I've been doing is, I have my weighted stuffy. And then when I notice myself getting to that burr point, like Krista go burr, we don't want to do that. So I like will get up, walk around, take deep breaths, think about something else, get your mind out of the moment that it's stuck in. Because a lot of the time, like if it's a mental thing, it might be that. And if you're pushing yourself too far, getting yourself out of that moment physically will also help because it redirects your energy to something else that isn't pushing something too far. And that will help you avoid overdoing something, right? Because that's what leads to accident. Also, for anybody who's wondering, the retrogrades are starting up again April 20th ish. That's a Mercury retrograde. And so that's Mercury retrograde, which we do 4 times a year. Yeah.
We love Mercury.
We always
actually we do. We do, Hermes. I'm not insulting.
Yeah. We're used to Mercury retrograde. And we'll talk about that more as it approaches. But Mercury will be retrograde from April 20th through May 15th-ish. And then the next planet to go retrograde is really Pluto. So we have a while before any of the other planets go retrograde. Saturn will by July.
Which we haven't had a Mercury retrograde where it's the only retrograde in a while.
Yeah. It will be like a standalone Mercury retrograde. Yep.
That's kind of nice, to be totally honest. You can literally blame all of the problems on Mercury at that point.
Yeah. At that point, you can blame Mercury, especially since Mercury will be in Aries. So
yeah. I saw a really cool video the other day about how Mercury is the closest planet to every single planet based on like the rotation of everything. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it just makes me really happy.
It's just even more appropriate for Mercury's name.
Honestly, I like Mercury a lot. It's Mars I have an issue with, but that's beside the point.
You should like Mercury a lot. Mercury rules your sun.
Yeah, Mercury rules my sun. Not my chart. Venus rules my chart.
Yeah.
But Mercury and Venus like to gossip, so
yeah, they do. They hang out together sometimes. Yeah. And they have recently, they've only finally just gotten some space from each other.
Also, just another little thing to add in on all of this. When in doubt, ask your guides for help. Like especially when there's fast moving energy, ask them for, like, I recently reposted basically the same tip that I say, like, select a validation sign that they can send you, because right now stuff is communicating, like there's a lot of space for that to happen. So if you're struggling with something, if you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, how to take advantage of this, I don't know how much it's going to be, whatever it is, like, ask your guides for help and validation. They will validate you. They will help you. Just don't think that you're doing this alone, because that is a very easy trap to fall into when things are all really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't be afraid to ask someone in the physical for help too, if you need that extra support. I want to make sure that we have that for ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
I've taken advantage of that option before. It is super helpful. Highly recommend if you find the right person. Yeah.
We also have a question from our Patreon, so we're going to go ahead and address that. It's actually the asker suggested this as an episode topic, but we wanted to just kind of address it as a question. Not that we couldn't talk a lot about it. We definitely could. However, it is something that we just kind of want to like give a nice little touch base on since it was asked. So the question is, how do we overcome the fear of angels, celestial beings, ghosts, if I'm open to channeling and receiving? Basically, why am I still 6 years old and afraid ET is in the bathtub? Which is a fabulous question.
Beautiful way of saying that. It's
I know. So when we first brought this up, Krista and I were talking about it just for a second, and a lot of our fear of like these of things that go bump in the night specifically in this day and age comes from a root of religious trauma that you might be calling in or experiencing either via your personal life or your ancestry, and occasionally even past life, though that one is less common when it comes to religious trauma and it causing fear of the unknown.
Or horror movies. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but every sleepover I was at when I was a kid, we had to watch some kind of horror movie. And The Sixth Sense was really big when I was a kid. So I'm watching all these things about how ghosts are really nasty. And, as a kid, I didn't see the end. I didn't stick around for the end. I didn't care about the moral of the story. So that might be something as well. We talk about how trauma can be, you can have abandonment issues from a balloon getting away from you as a kid, just because that's what happened and it felt bad. And then it follows with you into life. So give yourself a little grace. You kind of nailed it on the head. Why am I still a 6-year-old? Well, I would actually, if I were you personally, think about what happened around that time. If you had that vivid image, and then ask yourself, maybe that event startled you enough to create a no bueno, I'd prefer not to have this experience again situation. But in general, I agree. It's usually because someone told us it's scary. And even if we encountered it ourselves and it was scary.
Yeah. That's
one of the things, one of the things that I've come up with, because I encountered the things on my own and I was told they were scary and movies made it rough. And it was a lot. Eventually the solution for me was I got tired of being bothered. So at some point when things would come up that were, tense or dense energies, I would just be like, listen, I'm going to give you about as much energy as I would give to a child. And if I have the energy to give you, then we can work together. If I am closed for business right now, I'm closed for business right now. And you're just going to have to deal with it. Like I don't have the energy for this. And to a point that we discussed before we jumped on here, we are the ones in the physical. We are the ones who can make things happen in the physical, and they can like push stuff around and stuff, but we're making more happen in the physical. And we have much more agency and control here. They need us in sometimes, especially in the annoying times, as much as, if not sometimes more than we need them. Sometimes this goes back and forth. So please don't disregard your level of influence in the situation and how much power you hold in just being you and being here. Too often we're just like, I'm an ant and they're a giant and they're just going to step on me and destroy me if I don't do what whatever. I'm not even going to finish that sentence because it doesn't feel real. You are a person who sits at the table with all of these people, these beings, or these energies that either cooperate with you or try to instigate you. Now, how do you react to a person in life who tries to cooperate with you? And how do you react to a person in life who tries to instigate with you? Same thing.
Well, yeah. And I would also say, like, if you're still feeling like that 6-year-old, do a little bit of like an inner child, like go in and be like, look at your inner child, literally like go into a safe space and talk to that 6-year-old who's scared of ET in the bathtub. And quite literally be like, hey, we have tools now. We were untrained then. Things were scary then. We were small then. That fear is still valid. But unless we go back and actually heal that fear by like literally giving our inner child a hug and being like, look at all the tools and support we have, we're totally fine. That's just not going to be a thing that's like impactful for you, because you're like, I'm still have this fear. What's going on? Well, that's because 6-year-old you did have that fear, and that fear didn't get healed. To 6-year-old you. 6-year-old you didn't get to have a resolution to that. Things just got, you just were forced to grow up and you still had to harbor that fear. And as someone who has been very afraid of the spiritual before, very, very, to the point where I was 18 years old and having my mom sleep in bed with me every night because I was so fucking scared of this stuff.
Relatable.
Yeah, every night, because I was very scared because there were literal ghosts in my room and I could see them. Most of them were my guides, but that's beside the point. I had to go back to that time and like give 18-year-old Emily a hug and be like, hey, we are trained now. This isn't scary. Also, you are not alone in this. You actually know that there's guides there supporting you. I guarantee one of your guides is in charge of some level of protection for you. I don't think I've ever met a guide that didn't have some sort of important protective sort of role or caring over you. So at the end of the day, you can also ask them, be like, hey, this is things that I do not want in my space. Like, I need your help to keep these things out of my space. I don't want to interact with them. Thank you very much. And that is okay. That is a way of keeping your house safe or your sacred space safe or anything like that. At the end of the day, though, because you're in the physical form, you have the power. You are in this, you are the one rooted in this reality in a concrete way that can affect more things than they can affect. So even when I've encountered very scary creatures and ghosts and spirits and entities out there, because they exist, I'm not going to say they don't, they definitely do. At the end of the day, if they try to come at you, you can just be like, no, they can't come in. You can close that door. So you hold the cards. You just hold the cards. And part of stepping into this is understanding that even if something scary does come up, it's not going to harm you because you're the one that's in the driver's seat. And scary things have come up. Even they still come up for me now. I'll be like, oh, that was scary. Didn't like you. You just move on, because it's not that 6-year-old that has to just wonder what if. It's okay, that was scary, didn't like it, don't have to happen again though, and we can go on from there. And that is the power of being more tuned in, of being more open to channeling. If you see the scary stuff, you can be like, okay, go away. Bye, you can't come into my space. And there's of course more and more tools you can use with that, but that at the core of it, yeah, you have a team that helps you, you help you, and you don't need to be afraid of the monsters under your bed. At the end of the day. Yeah. Also, a lot of times fear comes when we are suppressing a lot of our intuitive psychic abilities, because it comes as, I'm not supposed to be seeing this isn't supposed to be happening, big scary. And then when we open them up, we'll realize that a lot of the stuff that we did see when we were kids or feel when we were kids was actually nothing scary at all. It was the fact that we were suppressing it and felt bad about it, scared of it, because it inherently was happening, that made it scary. And that's also a difference to notice as you are adulting with this. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a very fun episode. Again, March is still like a month away. Chill, enjoy this happy February time. The energy's cool. I'm excited for it. If you feel excited for it, rock on. Enjoy that.
Yeah, we just got some action coming up on the horizon, which, you know, we're ready for that. We can handle it.
100%. Absolutely. And we hope that if you want to get more information on this, I was going to say this and my guys just bugged me about it. Krista does astrology monthly updates on the YouTube. Go look at that if you want more in depth, or if you want more in depth in astrology stuff, go ahead, ask Krista. They do awesome consultations. If you're wanting a reading with me about stuff that's going on, obviously I'm very booked out on one-on-one readings. That being said, I have a group reading on February 17th in the evening, if you would like to join me for that. My groups are no more than 18 people ever, but typically they're more around like 10 people. So it's a really nice time. We get to chat a lot, get to get a lot of information to everybody and answer your questions. So if there's stuff that's coming up for you, especially if there's like spiritual stuff coming up, those fear things, or like any of the like, I don't know, I'm getting signs, what do these mean, whatever, because there is a lot of that fast moving energy right now. Like, I do have space for you in that zone. So if you would like that as well, that is open to you. So yeah, we're here to support you, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out, for watching, or however you're perceiving this information. Are you getting ready to count?
I'm getting ready to count. I'm also thinking about how last week we realized that for anybody who's listening and not watching, we do the whole go make some magic thing at the end, which we're about to do again for all of you who like to do it with us. I love you guys. But the reason we do such a long pause, which might throw you all off, is because we're counting each other to 3, trying to get it synced up, but our Zooms are still not syncing it up. So that's what this whole process looks like on this end of the microphone. So
you can see it on YouTube. You can watch us count together
and cringe.
All right. Yeah. Well, we hope that you
go make
some magic as I whack my microphone.
Oh, I didn't hear it, so I think we're good. Wow.
Okay, everybody.